2021. It was supposed to be the year that everything went back to normal. It was supposed to be the year where we started to regain our footing after one of the worst years in history. 2020 saw the introduction of a new virus, one that impacted our health. And as the virus set its sights in destroying our health, our government seized on the opportunity, never letting a crisis go to waste, and set its sights in destroying our freedoms. 2020 saw unprecedented overreach by political leaders, public health officials, and unelected bureaucrats. We saw an unraveling of liberties and freedoms like we've never seen in American history, and it carried over to 2021. Lockdowns, school closures, businesses destroyed, families crushed, life savings demolished, careers destroyed, record suicides, skyrocketing depression, crushed marriages, children kept out of school, forced to wear masks over their faces, elementary school, junior high school, and high school kids having the doors of their schools slammed in their faces and forced to sit in front of computers as teachers' unions told the teachers to stay out of class. The threat of more lockdowns, mask mandates, and now forced vaccinations where you must comply or lose your job and be mocked, ridiculed, marginalized, even called a terrorist by your government officials. When the hell is it going to stop? This state has led the charge of overreach, lockdowns, mandates, forced vaccinations, crushed businesses, destroyed families, and forgotten children right here in the state of California. Home of the most beautiful landscapes in the entire world, the entire state has been all but destroyed by the politicians who have been infecting the political system for decades. Today it's worse than it's ever been, thanks to one man whose incompetence absolutely knows no bounds. One man whose failed leadership is so remarkably bad that it's almost unfathomable. California has the highest poverty rate in the nation, the highest income tax in the nation, the highest sales tax in the nation, a punitive business environment, and record homelessness. Listen to me, people of California, when is it going to end? When do you get your life back? When do you finally get to make decisions that impact you and your family and your kids? When will the elected officials finally start listening to you instead of demanding that you listen to them with no oversight, no accountability, and absolutely no end in sight? It's up to you. This is your opportunity. You don't have to do this anymore. You don't have to put up with this anymore. Demanding freedom and liberties for you and your family, and demanding that the schools open those doors and take the masks off your kids does not make you a terrorist. It does not make you an anti-vaccination human being. It does not make you a bad person to question the leaders who have been elected by you, and unelected bureaucrats need to shut the hell up and take a step back. It's up to you. September 14th is your opportunity to put your foot down and to make a decision that will impact you and your family. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this hour-long conversation with Assemblyman from the 6th District, Kevin Kiley, as I hold him accountable and I ask him the questions that you have been asking me. It's time to take our freedoms and our liberties back. Right now, on Fearless, a political story. What's up, everybody? Keith Brooks here, aka Boondock, and I know that you're used to hearing a little bit of everything: politics, sports, and entertainment. Tonight, we're gonna go with straight politics, but at the same time, we want to kind of let our hair down just a little bit. We're not gonna ambush Mr. Kiley over here. Like I've seen people try to do in the past on YouTube and stuff like that. But we're going to instead give an opportunity for people to listen to his message and hear what he has to say in regards to what's going to happen with the state of California. Because the state of California, for all I don't know. For everyone who's been looking and listening and paying attention in the last decade, really, we've seen that it's just kind of gone downhill.
Yeah.
And it's been a pretty steep fall, and it has been steeper, if that's even a word. I don't know. I'd have to ask the Harvard man here in a second. In the last few years since the governor has been the governor. And it's been rough. So we're going to talk to Kevin Kiley about that in just a few minutes. This is Matthew Oliver, who owns this beautiful place right here.
Come on.
This is like, when I walk in, I feel like I'm not worthy. I feel like I should change my shoes and put on like better stuff. But I'm not going to, because I want to be that guy. So we appreciate you letting us come in here. And also, Matthew has been so kind as to let us come in here and do this. But also, over the last 18 months, almost 2 years now, he has been just on the forefront of trying to help families keep their jobs, keep your doors open. He's been a fighter for liberty and freedom for people in this state and in the country, and he's just been a great community leader. So we thank you for that.
Well, thank you so much. You've been leading the way too, though,
mine's a little different. So mine's a little more in your face, a little more aggressive. I keep calling out the governor. He won't come on the show.
Well, you think yours is different? He's been calling out the governor. I stood
true.
up to the governor.
Yeah.
I've been sued and cited and fined but you're doing it. You're making it happen.
Yeah. Again, I tried to. I just sent an email to the governor's office 2 nights ago after a couple of glasses.
You're asking him to come on the show?
Yeah.
Is that what's happening?
I don't think I have enough money to pay him is the thing, and he won't do it. So let me tell you who our guest is tonight and explain his credentials, because he's a little bit qualified, but I don't know, maybe a little. We've got to push him over the line a little bit here. So this is Kevin Kiley. He got his bachelor's degree from Harvard University. And then he decided, he's going to go get his Juris Doctorate from Yale Law School. And then he's like, I'm not done. I'm going to get my master's in secondary education at Loyola Marymount. So 3 of the top schools in the entire freaking world. He's pretty well educated, and I think he's also been leading the way since 2016 as an assemblyman here in the 6th District. So he's been a leader and somebody who has been fighting for California for a long time, and now running for governor. I don't know if you remember, but like a month or so ago when we were here, maybe it was a couple of months ago now when it was the grand opening.
That was the grand opening, I remember, yeah.
I said, hey, man, are you going to run for governor? And you're like, I don't know. We'll see. I feel like it's...
I was evasive? Really? Jeez.
I feel like I pushed you over the edge.
I think it was you. I think you were the guy. Yeah.
So we got a lot of questions. We're going to get right to it because I don't want to waste too much of your time, but I do. A lot of people are really interested in this gubernatorial race, and of course it's happening on September 14th. Yes. Vote yes. So let me get right to it. So we have unprecedented times in the country, and the state kind of leads the way. We've got a lot of weird things going on in the state, mandates, and all kinds of problems that we've had here. We've got unemployment, we've got record homeless, we've got just unbelievable problems here. Absolute overreach by politicians that are elected by the people, who get into office and then somehow forget that they were elected by the people and have no accountability. As you run for governor, if you are to become governor, what is the one thing that you're going to focus on first to try and earn the trust back for the American people who right now, at least for the people in the state of California?
He's talking to you like you're running for president.
I
like this.
Because that's the next thing.
Yeah, well, we're getting there.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
For the state of California, Californians, what is the thing that you're going to focus on to try and address just the loss of respect, I think, and trust and faith that the people have in their elected leaders?
Well, I want to give people control over their own lives back.
Yeah.
We've been living in a quote-unquote state of emergency now for 1.5 years. And we've been living under the thumb of what's essentially been a one-person government with extraordinary encroachment on people's lives, and mandates like exist in no other state, and business shutdowns that exist in no other state, and church shutdowns that exist in no other state, and school shutdowns that exist in no other state. So, this has been sort of a dark era of government control across the country, but it has been darkest of all in California. So I would want to help, light a new spark of liberty and self-government, which is really what the recall is all about.
You mentioned, the loss of liberties and freedoms and people not being able to take control of their own lives. And one of the things that I think that people have been so frustrated with is just the overreach. And a lot of it's because of the emergency declaration. Right? You declare a state of emergency. Now you have unprecedented power. Unelected bureaucrats get to make up rules and laws. The governor said he wasn't going to give that up. Is that something when you become governor, which I'm already predicting will happen? Is that are you going to be able to rescind that? Is that something that's
Yes.
on your plate? Okay.
I would immediately, day one, rescind the state of emergency, and that causes every state and local emergency order that's in effect to automatically expire.
Like mandatory vaccination.
Correct.
Like mask wearing in schools.
Yeah.
Like I have to, change my underwear every other day. My wife makes me do that because of the state of emergency.
No, it's true. I
I don't know if I can help you with that one, Matt.
I'm just here. I'm just saying.
Yeah. If you do help him with that, that's top news. We got to get on that.
Every other day?
You're hearing it here first, y'all. Now, it's important that we talk about that because that's, I think, one of the biggest things that people are really, really frustrated at. They don't really understand why why the governor's able to do some of the things that they do. I think people kind of watch everything in passing. They don't really get too deep into things, into the weeds, and it's because they got their own lives to live. So the emergency declaration, we were talking to Congressman McClintock, and he said the same thing. He said, until we get rid of this governor, those mandates will continue on. Is it your fear that if people vote no and he does not get recalled, that it'll get worse? Or do you think that at some point even he has to pull that order back?
Well, I think there's a good chance it'll get worse because things have just kept getting worse and worse as they are. I mean, think about it. Like this is Groundhog's Day. We are seeing the return of mask mandates. We're seeing vaccine mandates like don't exist in any other state. Yeah. He's more than hinting at another school shutdown. There's and even a few weeks ago, he's been sort of clinging to this pandemic mentality and the level of government control that comes with it. And there's absolutely nothing in our experience over the last year and a half that would lead anyone to believe that if he remains as governor, that any of this is going to change. And so I think that, the vote that we're having on September 14th, and is actually starting now, people are getting their ballots now, is, one of the most important decisions that Californians have ever faced in our state's 170-year history. So,
yeah, it's this one. I've been around. I've been in California since
you've
the
been
70s.
around.
Yeah. I've been around in the state of California, and I've never seen it like this. I've never seen it. And when he was mayor of San Francisco, I saw San Francisco do the same thing. It was just this clunkiness that.
And did it ever get better?
It never
has it ever gotten better?
No, absolutely not. And I knew that was going to happen when he became governor. Now, the other thing, and we're going to get into forced vaccinations and mask mandates and all this, return to all that stuff here in just a few minutes. But one of the things that people are very concerned about, I'm concerned about it too, and most of the people that were on my social media wanted me to ask you this question. We felt like in the 2020 election that whether it would have been overturned or not is irrelevant. Mail-in voting seems to open the door for massive fraud potential. Not having voter ID, not even putting down the last 4 years Social Security, like no accountability for where those votes are, where they're going, where they're coming. It just feels like they could be sitting in a room and make up the total. And I've heard so many people say, why even bother voting in the recall election?
Well, first of all, let me just stop you there. Okay. I do not want people to think that.
I know. I don't want them to think that either.
So, whatever your concerns might be, just take that as added motivation to work even harder for us to win by such a wide margin that it's,
they can. Yeah.
So now the concern you raise, yes, call me old-fashioned. I don't know what was wrong with the system where we all vote like on election day.
Yeah.
We present an ID.
I'm going to call you
old-fashioned. Then we
old-fashioned.
find out that night who won.
I love that.
Right?
That system's nice.
What was wrong with that system?
It was great.
There was nothing wrong with that system. And on top of that, they've done studies on the mail-in balloting. They did it during 2020. They've done the studies. They have shown, and I know a lot of people scream and say, "Well, it's racist if you don't allow that, and people can't, not everyone can get to the polls." It has shown that minority voting did not go up at all. No percentage at all for mail-in voting. So if what they're trying to suggest is that it's helping minority voters to be able to get that vote out, the data does not show that. So,
well, let me give you a level of confidence. We found the same group of people that helped drive this recall that happened are the same group of people who are highly motivated to be watching when the ballot counting is going on.
Okay.
They are. I have never seen a more motivated, incentivized, put together group. And because these questions are real and they've had them and they've had these concerns. I even think in the state of California, this last election, they were highly motivated. Yeah. They're even more so motivated.
Absolutely.
What we need to do, this ballot harvesting that happens, and we need people who can be motivated to start going out and saying, hey, have you, door to door knocking, old school, going old fashioned, going door to door. You got a ballot? Do you know what you're doing with it? Let me help encourage you which way to vote. Let me, do you need someone who can mail this for you? Do you need someone who can take, we need to be motivated as equal as the other side to go out and help our neighbors and our coworkers to yes on the recall and vote for Kevin Kiley. We've got to make that happen.
Yeah, the biggest thing that people, I hope people will take away from it tonight is, look, the mail-in ballots, it is what it is. That is going to happen. They're already mailing them out, like you said. But our motivation, like you said, should be to make sure that we are out voting strong, that we're voting with integrity, and then we have those people that are out watching those polls and making sure that.
And I tell people, vote and vote often.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. You have to vote. Trying to trick me today. You have to vote.
I'm here for you.
Oh, yeah. You vote. Bring your friends and everything else. Tell 10 of your friends, bring them, drive them. Don't vote more than once. We're not Democrats. No dead people. You mentioned, and we're here again with Assemblyman Kevin Kiley, who is running for governor of our great state. Hope to God that we can save it, because it's. I just met with my best friend last night. We went out and had a few drinks in El Dorado Hills, and he moved to Idaho a few years ago, and he loves this state. We went to high school in the Bay Area, and but a lot of people are doing that, and even I've started thinking about it. And man, I'm a surfer, bro. There's no waves in Idaho. I don't know what to do. I've got to stay here, so you've got to help us.
Waves.
All right, but I'm on it.
Thank you. I feel like David Spade in Black Sheep. Can I get a job in the cabinet, man? So you mentioned the mass mandates, the forced vaccinations. I work in EMS during the daytime. Our company, because of the state mandate, is now letting us know that we're going to have forced vaccinations, or we're going to be tested once a week. And they've been hinting that the testing once a week is going to go away at some point, and we're just going to get forced vaccinations. You're an attorney. Is this something that you see as the state being able to do, number one? And if it continues down this path, is there any path where it could get to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court would take it? And is there any precedent in forced vaccinations?
Well, it certainly could be taken to court, and I've heard about lawsuits that are being prepared as we speak. And yes, the Supreme Court could take it up. There are some precedents that are dealing with mandatory vaccination, although there are certainly, I would say, novel circumstances here. Yeah. And so those are court challenges that I think are worth pursuing to see whether this is something that is allowed under the law. But I think that the more immediate solution is to remove the political actor who's responsible for these being there in the first place. Yeah. That could happen very quickly. We have a chance to do it in a month. Yeah. And I think that could even perhaps send an even more powerful message that if you try to overreach in the way that this governor has, then it's not just some legal precedent that's going to get in your way. It's the full force of the people that you're charged with representing.
And that's really the most important thing for people to understand. Like the Assemblyman said, and Matt has talked about it before, and Tom McClintock has talked about it. With Kurt Euler was talking about it. It really, if you cut the snake's head off, then all this stuff goes away. and at least I'm hoping that it all goes away. But that's the biggest thing is we have to vote in that recall election. He has to be recalled. Once that happens, a lot of this stuff starts to get back to normal. On top of that, the way California goes, I think that would send shockwaves through the country. It's just like you said, right? You what the state of California is trying to do. They're always trying to be first in state this, first in country this. But if this were to happen, this recall happens, and you're sitting in that governor's office, that sends shockwaves all over the country.
I agree with you, and it is this is hugely important. Because yes, we have been living through this era that we're now in. I mean, it's been long enough. We can call it an era.
Yeah, man.
The COVID
it's
era,
2 years,
right? This era of government control, and California has had it the absolute worst of any state. We've had the worst lockdowns. Mm-hmm. We've had the longest school closures. We were the last to open just about everything. And so, if California responds to that, with the success of a citizens movement to remove the person who is responsible, then I believe that, yes, that could actually propel change across the country.
And you're saying that if you are elected governor, then you'll end that emergency declaration. So there will not be any school closures for the rest of this year and beyond.
Absolutely not. I would make sure every school is open full-time, 5 days a week. No excuses. No masks required.
Okay, no masks required. Now, people can wear them like they do in Florida. The governor has said if you want to wear them, you can, but no forced masks, right? And schools would remain open.
Absolutely.
Is this something that you feel would be a battle with the teachers' unions you would have to take up? Is that something that
are you being endorsed by the teachers' unions? I didn't remember you taking any money from them.
Yeah, my God,
it doesn't happen very often, does it?
That would be about the last thing in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Eagles album, "Hell Freezes Over."
You know what I like about what you're talking about? Not only as this recall goes, the nation's going to be influenced, but you're working with an assembly that is largely Democrats and liberals and Democrats. But I like when you talk about it, is you say there's nothing that scares them more or motivates them more than the idea that they can lose their job. And when you take out that head guy, and trust me, they're already freaking out. Right now, what you see the governor doing is he's trying to make these other people do his dirty work. They don't want to do his dirty work. They're seeing him getting recalled. They're afraid for their own jobs. He's not guaranteed anymore. His bullying power is being diminished, even though he's trying so hard to hold on to it. And if he gets taken out, now all of a sudden, as Kevin comes in and takes that place, they've got motivation to try to work and cross the aisle and say, okay, now I actually need to care about my people, otherwise my people aren't going to care about me.
Absolutely, 100%. One of the things I think that people are a little confused about as well, I saw this in some of the Recall Gavin Newsom Facebook pages and during the comments section, is we need to all fall behind one candidate, right? So if they say yes on the recall, if we don't all fall behind Larry Elder or we don't all fall behind Kevin Kiley, then the governor's going to keep his job. And so that's not true, correct?
That's not true. It's a little counterintuitive because I think in a normal election, those sort of dynamics are a concern. But in a recall, it's actually just the opposite. Because what we need is for over 50% of voters to vote to remove Newsom. If that first question succeeds, as a yes or no question, do you want Newsom out? If over 50% say yes, then he's out. He's gone. Then the second question is another matter. That's the question of who will replace him. And I view the other candidates on that part of the ballot as my teammates, not my opponents, because we can all bring people into the fold who will vote yes on the first question.
Yeah, that's I'm glad you said that.
But why tell me the thinking behind this. And we just gave your credentials, so you're super brilliant. And
are you pointing at me?
No, I'm pointing at him. You gave the credentials.
Where did that come from? Okay, I'll take it.
You're super brilliant. You're super brilliant, too. I mean, we both graduated from like 6th grade and stuff, so that's cool.
I have a high school diploma. It sits up there. Very prestigious, too.
Hey, that's cool.
Yeah, Newark Memorial. Hey. Cougars, baby, what's up? Cougar football rules. All right.
Casa Roble Rams, right?
Oh, look at you flexing.
I went for like a year. So, but... man, I was on a point. I was going somewhere.
I know.
I don't even know where I was going.
I feel that it's still there, right?
I was like lingering, like right there on the tip of my
Did
tongue.
you lose it?
I probably
Happens
did.
to me all the time, man.
You're talking about the two questions, right? And the second question.
Yeah. I know questions and stuff. Damn it, Casserole, rock on.
There
you go.
Bastards.
Yeah, if you played us, we'd whoop you.
Oh yeah, you're a super nice, smart guy.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
that's all I was gonna say. It's
all you
gonna
got.
come back in like 5 minutes. I'm stopping you, whatever you're saying,
Totally.
to bring it.
100% do that.
I'm gonna drink some more.
In the state of California, we have the highest poverty rate in the nation. We also have the highest gas taxes in the nation. I work in an industry part-time in EMS where we don't get, unless we're working for the state in the fire department, we don't get paid that much. And this has legitimately happened in the last few months. I have people that are under my charge who had to call in for work. They can't afford to drive in. And these are good kids. They're younger, but they don't get paid a lot. And the gas is so high, they can't even come to work. And that's absurd to me. What is it that we can do in the state of California on the executive level to try and curb these things, the gas prices, the poverty rate? What is it that you can do to help bring some sanity to the state in that sense?
Well, on that specific example, actually, the governor does have the authority to stop any increase in the gas tax, which happens automatically. And many of us asked Newsom to do this actually just a couple months ago. Yeah. He refused, and when he was asked about it, what he said was, "Well, there's no such thing as a free lunch.
Wow.
No such thing as a free lunch." Can you believe he said that? Okay, sure, there's no such thing as a free lunch, but you shouldn't pay for a rack of lamb at House of Oliver and get a Big Mac in return. I mean, we pay the highest gas taxes yet have the deepest potholes.
Yeah.
I have people who say, okay, you want to tax me more than any other state? Okay, I might be okay with that if we actually got something for it. Right. But we have the lowest quality of government service and the highest amount that we have to sacrifice.
And I can attest that as I'm driving an ambulance, that we do have some of the worst roads. And we always say it. Even the patients in the back are like, don't they have like taxes that they use for this? And I'm like, I don't know what they're doing with it. It seems like they just throw it into a bottomless pit.
Don't we also have free lunch? Like, I'm pretty sure for like all high school and elementary or something, they've been giving away tons of free lunch. We give away free Medicare. We give away free everything. Like, I mean, I feel like we actually do free. Like California.
Free money, these checks that have been coming.
Yeah,
the
free.
Cash.
So much free.
We do a lot of free stuff. So we do. There is such thing as a free lunch. The governor's full of it. The governor's been full of it for a very long time. When it comes to, I think the biggest thing I've gotten from most people is how this is going to impact their kids. Right. So we talked about we're not going to close schools. We're not going to institute mask mandates. I don't know if I heard it, maybe I didn't hear it or not, but in regards to forced vaccinations, that's something that you could keep from happening, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because that's a big one as well.
Huge.
And
I call it medical rape.
I am not an anti-vaxxer. So, I think that generally speaking over the years, vaccines have been very good, very useful. And usually when they're, researched quite a bit, they bring a lot of good things to the world. But with my daughter, she has a bit of a medical condition. She can't take that vaccine. But some of the parents are starting to get scared that they're going to get forced. And you and I were talking about it, Matthew, as far as forced vaccines. It's like, just like you said, you told me you're not anti-vaccination.
That's right.
You're pro-choice, and when it comes to this kind of stuff. And that's probably the biggest, the absolute biggest thing that I've gotten from families who have asked questions is your responsibility when you become governor is to look out after those families and those kids with the forced vaccinations. So he said it right here, no forced vaccinations. So you have he mentioned you have a very democratic legislature that you have to deal with. And we've seen this over the years in California. You have a Republican governor. It doesn't happen all that often, but you do have one. And then, you have to butt heads and the power's all in the legislature. Have you developed enough relationships? Do you have confidence that you can work with them and that they'll work with you?
Well, sure. I've been in the legislature 5 years, so I know everyone rather well. I have authored a number of bills that have been pretty groundbreaking, actually, on issues like school choice, on freedom of speech, on issues of public safety that I've gotten through. But, I'd be lying if I said, and obviously it's just, not the reality, that I've been able to get the state turned around or to really, solve the state's fundamental problems, because, with this legislature doing anything like really large scale or meaningful that actually serves the public interest rather than big special interest groups is just totally a non-starter. So, what Matt said earlier, though, is the key, which is that the one thing that legislators will respond to is political pressure if they actually, fear losing their jobs. And so I think that the recall of the governor, if he loses his job, is the most powerful leverage you could have in order to induce action by the legislature. So that's what I do, is right after taking office, I would throw down the gauntlet and say, here are the issues that we need to address finally, homelessness, the cost of living, education and school choice, and rising crime rates. And if the legislature refuses, well, guess what? There's another election in 2022, and they can suffer the same fate as Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of them will. So I guess it's safe to say that our state's law enforcement would be safe under a Kiley administration, right?
I mean, it would be 100% different. We have treated our law enforcement so poorly. The legislature and the governor have targeted them. They've taken away the tools they need to keep their communities safe. They've thrown criminals, dangerous criminals, violent criminals back on our streets. They've refused to increase penalties where appropriate, but have just systematically lowered penalties in a haphazard way across the board. Not only that, but with the defund movement, I consider it one of the most offensive political slogans ever concocted. I would restore not only the tools that they need to serve their communities, to keep us safe, but also the respect and reverence that every person in law enforcement deserves.
That's huge. That's such a huge thing.
That's like a huge, like foundational thing.
I want to stand up and clap, because you're not just saying I want to restore the tools, but let's restore the dignity.
Correct.
I mean, I have a daughter who wants to be a police officer, even in the midst of everything that went on, but to go, let's restore the fact that these people are putting their lives on the line every single day for us. That's huge, man. I love that.
It is.
That was great.
It is. And I've got family in law enforcement. I think we all know law enforcement. So we all kind of, I've grown up with that respect, but you feel it in the communities as well. San Francisco's a mess. I know it's not our state, but you see what's going on in Chicago, where police officers aren't even allowed to go, chase after a suspect. It's like, unless they call and get, they get clearance from their sergeant. It's just, you said it. We have to restore those tools back, and we have to restore the dignity and the respect back to the law enforcement. When you become governor, the number one thing that you want to do and want to accomplish right away, the thing that you're going to get to work on the second you walk into that office, what's your number one pet project, the thing you really want to get going on?
Well, ending the emergency is number one, because so much else goes with that, and making sure that every California school is open full time. But I think that beyond that, I would want to start aggressively and strategically using executive authority, not to create new policies like Gavin Newsom does, but to unwind everything that he has done, unwind the entire era of one-man rule. And then, I'd throw the ball in the legislature's court as well. But, maybe even at a higher level than that, I would declare, look, the state of the era of corruption in California is over. We've had a state government that has not served the people of our state, that served lobbyists and special interests, and that has caused, you said at the beginning, California's long-term decline, which Gavin Newsom has brought to a total free fall.
Yep.
And I'm going to say that is over with. We're going to have, a state representatives who actually serve the people of our state. So if you're willing to do that, I'm going to work with you. If not, we're going to get other people in.
And Matthew knows this because he's a business owner and of several businesses, but business in the state of California is tough. People pick up and they leave all the time. I've seen it, it happened with Joe Rogan. It's happened with, Adam Carolla. It's happened with a lot of businesses where they've picked up.
Like you went with all talk shows.
Yeah, I know.
Tesla. I mean, just a little one.
Those are my people. What's Tesla? Let me look it up.
That's right.
It's been a very an unfriendly business atmosphere in this state for so long.
Talk shows, evidently. I don't know.
I know. Well, they bring in a lot of money. What is it that you can do? What would be your message to folks out there who are small business owners, which makes up most of the business community, to kind of put their mind at ease that help is on the way?
Well, I'd say number one, it couldn't get a lot worse than what's happening to small businesses.
Really couldn't.
Under this
really
governor.
couldn't.
I mean, and California
Unless he stays governor.
That's not going to happen. Bite your tongue.
Oh, sorry.
California had the worst business climate in the country before COVID-19.
Yep.
And actually, it's not bad in a lot of cases for big companies because they can sort of, they have their own big compliance departments and lawyers on staff. And so in some ways, they invite regulation because that allows them to muscle out small businesses who can't deal with it. It's small businesses who pay the price. And we saw that more than ever during the lockdowns. As powerful industries such as Hollywood, they got exemptions while small businesses, were killed off in droves. And so I would, of course, end the era of lockdowns for small businesses, but also begin to systematically roll back all of the unnecessary regulations, a lot of which emanate from state agencies that are part of the executive branch. So a governor could bring new leadership and get rid of a lot of those.
Yeah, everything that the future governor has said here, Mr. Kiley, is very important. Everything he has said has been, in my opinion, right on the money. All of the fears, all of the things I've heard from people that I come into communication with, whether it's in my day job, whether it's in this job, whether it's my friends, my family, people on social media, these are the concerns, and the number one concern for everybody has been lockdowns, has been mandates, has been forced vaccinations. It's been everything that this emergency declaration kind of encompasses. So it is. I'm going to go Spanish. It is mondo importante that you get out.
Look at you.
See how
Bridging.
I did, bro? One
Yeah,
of these
that
days,
was good.
I'm
Bridging.
going to run for office myself one of these days. It is incredibly important that if you want to have restored freedom, liberty, choices, and have big government step back and allow you to live your own lives, allow your kids to stay in school unmasked, unvaccinated, the choice is being left up to you, then the number one thing you can do is to get out on September 14th and vote yes, that we need to, that the governor shall be recalled.
Removed.
And then number two, and I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but there is a guy here who has made a pretty strong case. So it is important. It's imperative.
Can I jump in? Let me
Yes,
just
please.
say real quick. This is why people always ask me. They go, "Okay, we're looking at this. Who should we vote for? Who's the best for California?" You know what I'm looking for is people. I look for this in business. When I'm running my own business, I want to see the people who are willing to do the job when no one's looking, when there's no perks for it, when you're just out there doing it because it's in your heart, you care about it. I get guys who go up and they'll clean the floor, they'll stack some chairs, they'll do some dishes, just because they know it needs to get done.
Yeah, I like that.
And I know their heartbeat in it. You know what I love about Kevin? He was fighting for the people before there was a recall. Kevin was fighting for small businesses. He took the governor to court multiple times and won when no one was looking. He wasn't doing it for a photo op-ed. He wasn't doing it to just boost his political career. He was doing it because he cared about the people. And actually, because I know Kevin and I know what, in conversations, he wasn't like, "Hey, I want to be governor." He was like, "Hey, is anybody going to step up to the plate who's actually willing to do something right?" And we have people running right now that are claiming all sorts of stuff and wanting to be the front runners of it, who change their mind and change their answers depending on who's asking the questions. They're flip-flopping. They've not stepped up. And I'll tell you, when the governor Newsom shut down my business, illegal overreach, and absolutely shut it down, there was only one guy who said, "How can I help you?" And that guy's sitting next to me. And I'm not talking about you, even though I love you, man. But one
thought I
guy.
was there to help too.
Yeah, no, you did good. No, I appreciate it. It was really sweet.
I stopped by, waved.
That was nice. But one guy fought for us. And one guy continued to fight for us no matter what. He showed up day in and day out. He never phoned it in. He never was, slack on the job. He was doing it even when others, and I mean our full assembly, they weren't even active. This guy was going, "What can I do?" and hitting the streets, making it happen. I think that's the game changer. Yeah. While others were waiting till the last final minute to decide maybe they're going to run on their name recognition, Kevin went out there and said, "I'm going to do it because no one else stepped up to the plate. He's got the goods. He knows what he's doing. And he's also got a plan." because we've got no time. When you get into office,
no, you don't. No
we've
time
got,
at all.
We've got no time to make this happen. You've got to come in. If we learned anything from the last recall, you got to come in guns blazing, getting ready to do this. And when you talk to Kevin, you got a plan. Like, you've put this together. Yeah, you got someone with these kind of brains, these kind of smarts. Yeah. You got a plan. And I love that.
Yeah, and it's good that you do, because we did have a governor of California who just said a couple of days ago, "Screw your freedoms. You don't get to have them. Put the mask on." So I'm glad that that's not something that you would do. We've only got a couple of minutes left. So Kevin Kiley, running for governor of the great state of California, is there any last words that you want to say out to people who are watching? I don't want you to get too nervous, man, because I know you're not used to being in front of people and stuff like that. I don't know how many downloads we'll get on this, but judging by the social media, I know a lot of people are really interested in it. So what would you like to say in conclusion here for tonight?
Well, I'd say first, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And I'd say,
for sure,
if you're someone who's listening who, helped with the recall, who signed the recall petition, who helped gather signatures, thank you. You have given us as a state this golden opportunity to go on just a totally different course. And now we have less than 30 days to seize it. And so, let's leave everything on the field. Let's fight until the end. And, I think we can have a new birth of freedom for the state of California.
I'm excited. And, I know that there are some people out there who might be getting tricked. I see the commercials every 30 minutes on a couple of shows that I watch about how this is a, stop the Republican recall. Listen, when I was watching in the 90s, when I saw the presidential campaign and I saw George Bush running against Bill Clinton, I saw George Bush talking to people and everyone was kind of just sitting on their hands. I saw Bill Clinton was talking to big crowds and they were excited. I knew he was going to win. Same thing happened in 96. I saw it with Barack Obama, and I see it here where I drove past going to the gym the other day, and there was a no on the recall gigantic sign on the street with like 4 people
I was
holding
say
it.
3 people holding it up.
There was like
super
4 people
excited.
holding it. And then as I was driving home, there was about 150 people on the corner in Folsom with the, remove Governor Newsom. This is not a Republican thing. Like I told you on the last show, I signed my recall, the petition. I signed it in Santa Cruz County, man, right by the point when I was going down to surf, and it was sitting there. There was 2 ladies who were Democrats, who I signed it with, and then we walked down and had dinner in Capitola. I'm sure you've been there, and all the businesses, like probably 90% of the businesses, had recall Gavin Newsom signs in that liberal county. So
we know this is happening, and this is why the governor's scared.
Yeah.
The media's scared. They are not scared for no reason. They're scared because it's happening. Hey, before we end, I remember my question.
Oh, sweet.
I told you it'd come back
awesome.
to me.
That's so great.
So you're a smart guy. Why is the governor, we were talking about who they're going to vote for. And there's Democrats on the list and Republicans on the list. But the media, in fact, I saw it today in the newspaper, and the governor are saying, don't vote for a candidate. So they don't even want backup. They don't even want like plan B. You're so smart. Tell me, this makes no sense in my mind why they would do that.
Yeah, it is an odd thing. They're saying the Newsom camp is telling people vote no on the recall, and then on the second question, just to leave it blank. That's what they're saying. So
the Newsom camp and all the media throughout the state.
That's right, who amplify it. And so, there's actually a term for this in my view. It's called voter suppression.
Yeah.
Apparently, when
that's true.
Apparently, when you just do it explicitly, then that's okay.
It's like that's a plan.
Yeah. And so, and I'm not the only one who said it. Like George Skelton, who's the op-ed columnist for the Los Angeles Times, said much the same thing. So it is a little puzzling. The first thing to note is that the Newsom camp very aggressively tried to stop any prominent Democrat from running as like a backup option because they thought that would hurt Newsom if people thought they could hedge their bets and vote yes on the recall, but then choose another Democrat on the second. So they actually succeeded at that. You had people like Antonio Villaraigosa and Tom Steyer who were sort of like toying with the idea, but the Newsom attack dogs went after them and said, nope, you're not going to run. We're gonna ruin you if you do.
That's the only good thing Newsom's done is keep those two clowns from
exactly. And so they succeeded. No prominent Democrat entered, but you do have like a dozen or so just kind of random people who are Democrats who filed and now have their names on the ballot. So what my thought is why they're doing this is they probably feel like there might be some Democrats out there who don't like Newsom who would feel better about voting yes for the recall if they have a chance to check a Democrat on question 2. And so they want to just like close off that possibility, leave it blank, and then people will feel compelled to vote no. And I think that's their thought process.
Wow.
That has to be the thought process because I know I'm not super duper bright, but that's the only thing I can even think of.
Or maybe they're just like, if we say vote no, but if you're gonna vote, vote this. Okay, fine, then I'm gonna vote
for you. Yeah.
Don't want to do that, especially because Newsom failed to get the D next to his name. Mm-hmm. So there are some other D's on there.
Yeah, I got some D's for Kevin Newsom. All right, so that's going to be it for us. We thank you, Mr. Kiley, for joining us.
That's my pleasure. Absolutely.
Whatever happens, keep fighting for us in the assembly. I believe strongly that as your message gets out, you're the right man for the job. I do believe people will get that and hear that and believe it. But regardless of what happens, just thank you for everything you've done, and hope that you continue to work for. I know that you will. And Mr. Oliver, you have been a pillar in the community, man, and I appreciate you so much. I wish I could drink wine the way you do, and I appreciate it, but I'm a beer guy, so I can only do that. But thank you for all of your leadership as well.
Well, and thank you for doing this, getting the word out there.
Of course.
Appreciate you.
100%. And, this beautiful building down here, Oliver's Brew House in Lincoln, this is where we're at, and it's phenomenal. Every time I come in here, I feel I feel like a better person. I feel like I've gone into like the Club 33 in Disneyland. You know what I mean? Have you been to that place?
I call this my Disneyland.
Okay, you do.
Just because it's like it brings that. It's magic. It's
It
magical.
is.
That's what it is.
You just need that in Club 33. I've been there because I'm very important. And they only allow a certain few people in there. They have Mary Poppins. They have the photo, or not the photo, the phone booth from the movie Mary Poppins sitting there right when you walk in, and it's just geeks me out, man. And it has the same feel right here. We need to get you a phone booth.
Done. I'm in.
So we appreciate everybody listening. I'm Keith Brooks. Thank you for checking in. Now, this you can see on our YouTube channel. It's the Podcast Lounge. Go for that and check that out. Subscribe, hit the little bell so that you can get notifications when the new shows come out. And you can check us out on Spotify and iTunes. It's Boondock Underground. You'll have the audio version of this show and all the rest from there as well. So for Kevin Kiley and Matthew Oliver, I'm Keith Brooks. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.